Hello there. In this episode of Faster Masters Rowing Radio, you'll discover the pros and cons of going on rowing camp.
Feel the grip of the oar handle, smooth yet firm in your hands. Taste the salt of your own sweat and the occasional splash of water. It's all part of the journey. Welcome to another episode of Faster Masters Rowing Radio. Each week, our host, Masters rowing coach Rebecca Caro, dives deep into the world of Masters rowing. Whether you're on the water or in the gym, join us to become a faster master. Let's go rowing.
Well, hello again and welcome. It's January. It's the blues. You may not be feeling great about life and everything, but I have a cure for you. Going on a rowing camp can be a fantastic way to refocus your attention and fall in love with rowing all over again. But why would you want to go on a camp? Are they useful? Well, firstly, there are lots of different sorts of rowing camps. You can go on a camp just for training. You want to do some mileage, you're maybe in a new crew lineup, you want to, get yourself coordinated together, enjoy hanging out. There's another sort of camp, which is a selection camp, where the coaches use the camp environment to pick lineups that are going to go forward and race together later in the season. And then there's another sort of camp, which is a finishing camp, where you already have your lineup sorted and you're maybe within 1 to 3 weeks of your big regatta event, and you want to get some focused, dedicated training time before you go into that final regatta. So let's have a think about why you might want to choose a camp. And don't forget, particularly for us masters, we don't have to go as a single club group. You can go on your own. You can go overseas. You can go to sunnier, warmer climes at this time of year, which are different from where you live. So the big kind of change of scene aspect of camps, I think, is a massive benefit. It's like a holiday, a vacation, even if it is just for a long weekend. You can, of course, do camps in your own club as well, but there are some disadvantages to that, which is that, nice though it is to sleep in your own bed, people tend to keep their commitments to other parts of their life, and so they have to rush off and do other things, which is something that you don't do when you travel and go away on a camp. So the big things that I think bring you to a camp are fourfold. It gives you focus. It can give you a sense of purpose. Thirdly, it helps to make decisions. And fourthly, it can refresh your attitude to the sport, your involvement in it. Now let's think about the coaching side. It's challenging to go on camp without coaching. And so I would always recommend having coaching as an integral part of your camp organization. From the athlete's point of view, you get a lot more individual attention on camp than you would do in your normal regular training at home. Because there's so much less time pressure, you can get on the water, you get coached on the water, you come off the water, there's time for debriefs, you can have little mini sessions before or after meals where the coach can talk in a group about a particular topic, or you can have one-on-one time with coaches, or you can just choose to sit next to them, at a meal and pick their brains. From the coach's point of view, you have a captive audience of your athletes. They are there to train, to study, to learn, to enjoy. And so if there are particular focus points that you want everyone to become more aware of, this is a great time for you to get those messages across. Let's move on, though, to thinking about issues and challenges that happen on camp. So one of the most obvious ones is the increased training load. So say your regular workouts are 60 to 75 minutes, maybe they're 90 minutes long. On camp, typically you will be doing at least 2, possibly 3 workouts a day. Now that's a shorter workout, but obviously cumulatively, it's a much bigger training load. Is overtraining an issue on camp? The short answer is, in the long term, no. Your camps are not very long. As I said before, it's between 3 and 5 days. And as a result, yes, you will do more training, but think about the setup. You will travel to go to camp. So in all likelihood, the day before you travel, you won't do any training. And similarly, your return travel day will be an off day. Maybe you might row in the morning on the last day and then travel home at lunchtime. You can then schedule an off day for the first day that you're back at home, because perhaps you need to, re-rig your boats if you've taken your own boats on camp, and get them back in the club. And then you can pick up your regular training. A 3 or 5 day increased training load will have very little effect on you when you get back into the swing of things. However, if you are coming into the camp injured, that is a big red flag. You might be recovering from injury. And one of the biggest challenges from a coach's point of view is when the athletes do not tell you that they've got a niggle, a muscular soreness, or something has happened, because then the expectation is that they're going to do every session like everybody else, whereas in fact what you should be doing is treating those athletes a little differently. And I will say that if you are injured on camp and can only do part of the sessions, it's not wasted, because you should volunteer to go in the coach boat with the coaches, volunteer to film the crews, volunteer to help in other ways, because by hanging out with the coaches, not only do you hear their conversations, their little remarks that you might not otherwise hear because you're in the boat, you also get that chance to train your eye. When you watch a crew rowing, you look at them and then you can see what it is that the coach sees. You say, why are you working on that drill? What is it particularly that you've noticed that makes you think the crew needs that? And that is a really useful skill in yourself, because think of the times where you get sent video of yourself to watch and you think, what am I looking at? What should I be concerned about? So training your eye is never a worthless thing to do. You will benefit from that. Other issues are things like illness. If somebody does come down with a virus, you have to be very careful that the virus doesn't instantly spread through everybody who's at the camp. And so that's where all the good hygiene practices that we learned during COVID need to be taken with you. And I think that's the other main sort of negative about camp. And so at the end of camp, what are the outcomes that you can expect from yourselves as athletes? Well, the first and really often the biggest one is bonding. There'll have been some little in jokes and things that have happened. You may get a massive sense of achievement, that you've had this really focused time where you can accelerate your learning. And people really do learn very quickly when you practice every single day, consecutive days, building on what you learned the previous day. And for me, I think that's probably the biggest outcome. And from a coach's point of view, that really helps crews to just step up to a new level of proficiency. And yeah, the fitness is good. That's not going to change massively just because of camp, but it's more about the fitness plus the technical input and hopefully comprehension in the mind of the athletes. When you are on camp, it's often nice that a coach can give you some detailed attention, but then also leave you to go and work on it for yourself. When I've been on single sculling camps, I often feel like 5 to 10 minutes with a coach is enough to sustain me for a whole hour of me working on the same things on my own, which from a coach's point of view is quite neat, because then they can spread themselves around several athletes. It's different when you're in a big crew boat. When you're in a big crew boat, because there are more people and the work that you're doing is often on getting people to combine together, that takes more dedicated attention. And so you might do one outing with one crew, and then the next workout, you tell them to go practice it, and you, as a coach, go and work on another crew. And that self-coaching discipline is also useful for athletes to learn and improve and to get the skill of figuring out for themselves whether they're doing what they think the coach told them to do. So on balance, if you've got the rowing blues, I'd say go and look at possibly taking a camp. Book a camp now and see what benefits you can get from it. Till next time.
We are part of the Rowing Chat Podcast Network. Please tell your fellow rowers about the show. If you've learned just one helpful thing from today's episode, please consider supporting the show for as little as $1 per month by visiting fastermastersrowing.com/podcast.